And now it's my pleasure to have back on the show Michael Smalaskas. We spoke a little while back. He is a brilliant undergraduate student. In fact, he recently graduated from Providence College, where he made a stand for traditional marriage or natural marriage or Catholic marriage. Ironically, even though it's a Catholic college, he got a lot of heat for this, really made some LGBT enemies. There was a big backlash, and that included, in fact, a rape threat. Which is, what we all do when we get in a mood, I guess, apparently. That's within the pale of reasonable debate, because the administration of the college has really not supported Michael, and in fact, you could say has taken the side of his detractors in the LGBT movement, despite the fact that it's a Catholic university. So first of all, thank you very much for your courage and for joining us again today, Michael.
Yeah, thank you for having me back.
So there's a development in this story, and this is why I invited you back on. On graduation weekend, as I understand it, there was a whole new slew of hubbub. I could call it aggression against you. Is that fair?
Yeah, that's correct. It started a few days before graduation. During our commencement week activities, we had a formal dance at the local casino, and I was threatened with murder. So like you mentioned, first time it's rape, then it's murder.
Which would you prefer? I'm just joking.
Neither. It was brought to the attention of the administrators, and, long story short, I'm basically told that it'll get processed after graduation, after these two guys had graduated and gone home. And then the tables get turned on me. I have an encounter with the vice president after one of the celebrations, and, I simply spoke my mind that, she had been made aware. This is Vice President Christine Goodwin. She's the vice president of student affairs. It's her job to protect students. She had been made aware of both of these threats, and I told her that she should be ashamed for having done nothing. And then, like I said, the tables get turned on me. She says I threatened her, and then I'm left with a restraining order, no trespass, and I actually almost wasn't allowed to go to my own graduation.
My gosh. So restraining order, no trespass on campus, where you currently have a job, correct? So you suddenly couldn't get to work, right?
Yeah, exactly. So graduation was on Sunday, and I was at my on-campus summer job on Tuesday when I received the restraining order, and I had to vacate campus immediately.
This is so infuriating. This is so typical, because what did you do that was construed as threatening in her view?
So she identified three things. One, she says that I looked at her during Mass.
You looked at her in Mass, okay.
Right. And the second one was the encounter I just described after the Mass, where she walked by and I said that she should be ashamed for not taking the threat seriously.
Yeah.
And the third most bizarre one was that she writes that she feared my father, who has access to weapons, but the reason he has access to weapons is because he's a police officer.
Unbelievable. I mean, so this is so typical. Like, I remember this. I don't know if you ever heard of the case of John McAdams at Marquette University, another Catholic university where there was a big hubbub particularly over homosexuality, in fact. They were talking about gay marriage in a class, and a student took the Catholic view and, in fact, cited the catechism about gay marriage. And John McAdams, who was an advisor to the student went to him and said, hey, the assistant teacher in my class shut me down and didn't want to let me say my piece. McAdams stood up for the student, and the university reacted by going after him. Long story short, they ended up succeeding in firing the guy despite the fact that he's tenured. Now, John McAdams is a nice guy. I've had lunch with him, and he's a sweet guy. But the thing that's significant about him is that first of all, he's Protestant. He's not even a Catholic. And he's defending his students' right to express Catholic beliefs. But he's an old white man. He doesn't fit. Like, people make up these victim narratives and these narratives about oppression. And all the time, I mean, like, I look at you and I'm like, okay, here's a young, square-jawed, tall, white guy. He's the kind of guy that I'm afraid for on a campus. You see what I'm saying? Like, he's the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to actual application of protecting versus believing students, et cetera, on campuses. Like, who are we kidding? I'd be less afraid for you if you were, I don't know, a religious minority, and maybe it would help if you had some disabilities.
Right, exactly. And that's the thing, is the administration has shown its hand in protecting everybody else. They protected the people who wanted to protest against me, and Vice President Christine Goodwin encouraged it. There was no consequences for, the people who had threatened me with murder, and then I am construed as the threat. And let's not kid ourselves. This has nothing to do with me looking at her or saying something to her. This is because she doesn't like my stance on marriage. That's what this is all about. And now she's trying to ruin my reputation over it.
Well, and God knows she can. This is the sad thing. In other words, is when administrators at universities, even Catholic ones, take these kinds of actions, what they are doing is hiding behind the overwhelming power of a nation full of people in media, in academia, in even government positions, and even in the church, who all will pile on to you if they just point and say, sick 'em. So, I mean, it's really not a situation. I mean, what I'm sick and tired of, in other words, is there's people making efforts to construe situations like this as like an oppressive white male patriarchal person like you trying to oppress the people around you, when in fact you're one person surrounded by jackals. Not jackals, I shouldn't say, because we can't compare people to animals anymore. We learned that last week. But surrounded by people who have zero sympathy for you and who wouldn't mind even flouting your reputation and your rights.
Right, exactly. I mean, and this is the same lady who I had a meeting with her earlier in the semester of the bulletin board incident, and all she wanted to tell me, now this is in the middle of this is the rape threat the first time, all she wanted to tell me was how much I had harmed people by promoting a stance in favor of natural marriage. And then again, like we said, I get threatened with rape, murder, all this stuff, and somehow I become the threat. It's very backwards.
It's very backwards, especially on a campus that's Catholic, and therefore your position should actually be the norm, and other people should be, it's the other side that should be showing deference and trying to introduce their position with a degree of a decorum. And, you know, if you don't mind Catholic campus, I'd like to present an alternative view. Not, if you don't mind Catholic campus, I'd like to present the Catholic view. That's nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, the college has a duty to uphold and defend my position, and not because it's my position, because it's the mission of the college, it's the mission of the church. And so not only to just fail to defend that and uphold it, but then to actively target me. I mean, I've been absolutely vilified. I can't even walk on the campus over this anymore for a year. The no trespass order is good for a year. I mean, that is so far beyond the pale of just not even failing to defend and uphold.
Yeah. All right. Well, keep it up. I admire your courage, and you know, we need more people to do this, because actually, I always used to tell students when I worked with student activists and other organizations on campuses, I'd say the best case scenario is the worst case scenario. So, in other words, if you really get under attack, it's good because you're sounding an alarm, and people will respond to that. In your case, that has happened. You've been a lightning rod for leftist wrath, but you've been a great encouragement and a witness to the rest of us. So thank you again.
Well, thank you.
All right. Well, I look forward to having you on again soon. Once you get big and famous, you should start your own show sometime soon.
Yeah, maybe.
All right. Thank you, Michael.
Thanks, Steve.